Grande with me, and it's time to talk some DFS NBA basketball for tonight's 7-game slate. Jimmy G, what's going on, bro? How you doing?
I'm pretty good, man. It's a nice Friday. There's a lot of baseball tonight. There's a lot of basketball tonight. So just sports on 24/7 here, Fensty. And this is the basketball edition. But 21 games between the two sports. I mean, I know you have that many TVs, but I sure don't. So I'm going to have to be flipping through all the channels tonight to make sure I'm watching everything.
You got to love sports. And with a 7-game slate here, let's go over some of the injuries heading into tonight. Always a great time with James Grande. Yours truly, James Harden is out. Kevin Durant is also out. Trae Young out. Kawhi Leonard, Jaylen Brown, Jonas Valanciunas, Kemba Walker, Kevin Porter Jr., Robert Williams, Rui Hachimura, Serge Ibaka is out. Denny Avdia and Taurean Prince are actually going to be out for the season. Yep. Kent Bazemore is out. Sterling Brown is out. Monte Morris is still out. Nick Claxton is out. DJ Augustine as well. Damian Lee, Elise Johnson, Tyler Johnson. And then some of the questionables include Clint Capella with a back injury, Lou Dort with a hip, Danilo Gallinari with a foot, Tyler Hero with a foot, Rajon Rondo with a hip, Juan Toscano Anderson with a concussion, Derek Jones Jr. with a hip, and then doubtful tonight is Tony Snell with an ankle injury. I miss anything, JG?
No, but definitely less questionables than we've had recently, but very important with Atlanta already missing Trae Young and the Lou Dort experience possibly missing another game for OKC. That would open up a lot of value. So definitely not as many questionables as we've had, but definitely some key pieces still to come along the wire.
Our guy Sean Mitchell on the DFS NBA playbook on fantasyalarm.com. And without further ado, let's go over the high-priced point guards who we're looking at tonight, because we're looking at a little revenge for Mr. Westbrook Grande.
Yeah, man. There are a few people in the NBA, Fancy, and I know you being an avid fan, there are a few people with more, I think, just like hate for everybody else but the players on his team than Russell Westbrook, and especially a team that he gave so much for and just kind of got rid of him. So I think there's definitely revenge on his mind. You know, he didn't really show it the other night, but it was in Washington. This is a different story. This is in Oklahoma City. He returns. I think it's going to be emotional at first for Russ. I think it probably always is. I think the adrenaline is going to be really pumping. We've seen some bad shooting performances. He just needs to get to the rim more, and he'll be okay. And I think we're going to get peak Russ here, and he's my top spend at point guard for sure.
Yeah, what about my jersey's sake here? The chef, Steph Curry. I know he's coming off of a poor game, and you know how people are with recency. They're going to see that last game being like, he's not the man, but he really is the man. He's the best pure shooter in NBA history, and he's going up against a very banged-up backcourt in Denver. What do you think about Curry?
I want to backtrack real quick, and I would like to just say that I think that's disrespectful to call him the best pure shooter of all time, because he is a lot more than that personally. That's just my personal opinion. And I get it. I think it's rude, Fancy, because
I called him the best shooter.
That's like saying, LeBron is the best in-game dunker of all time, or like Dominique Wilkins is the best in-game dunker of all time.
I think it's more than that. You don't think that it's a higher compliment than that?
Yes. To an extent. I just think Steph does so much more, and obviously the shooting is the wizardry and the what catches our eye and what it's like, wow, like this guy is unstoppable. I think that there's a lot more to unpack than just the shooting with Steph Curry. I just think he's the total package. That's why I've been saying for months now, I wouldn't be surprised if he ran away, if he caught Jokic and Embiid, and I guess the NBA released their MVP and Luka Doncic was in front of him as well. But it wouldn't be surprising because he's done so much more than just shooting. The scoring has been tremendous. The threes have been tremendous. But he really does everything. Now, I think this is a tough spot. I prefer Westbrook and I prefer Curry tonight. Irving, rather. But yeah. I do think Curry is obviously in play for tournaments because I think you did bring up a very, very good point. Recency bias can giveth, recency bias can taketh away. And if you are looking at Steph, you're like, well, he burned me the other day. Well, sure, but he's Stephen Curry, and he literally scored 53 actual points against Denver the last time they played. So I think he's firmly in play. That just really speaks to how good Westbrook and Irving and the spots that they're in, and how just good this position is overall. That Curry is third on any list on a DFS slate.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some heavy guns here at the start here when it comes to these point guards. Anyone that you like from the mid tier? I was talking to John and Pemba before about Darius Garland. What do you think of him tonight going against Charlotte, who we actually like to attack all over the place anyway?
Yeah, they are bad defensively. And Garland has been super consistent. I mentioned it to John on the pod today, and Sean has it listed perfectly. I think it's as a cash play. I think Darius Garland has given us a super safe floor. It's really been helpful to have Kevin Love back, to have that little inside-out game. Garland's been really filling it up across the board and drawing less attention to him offensively. Kevin Love does. Kevin Love, people forget, is a very good offensive basketball player. So it's been really helpful, and the numbers reflect Kevin Love's arrival, so to speak. So I love Garland. I love John Morant. I think those two are where I'd be looking in the mid tier. Garland in cash and Morant in tournaments. We just saw 2 games ago Morant go for 70 fantasy points. Like, yes, it was overtime, but the scoring has been there recently. Fantasy last 2 games, I think the scoring has been the most inconsistent and disappointing part about John Morant's season this year. Shooting less than 30% from 3. He's really why is this guy not scoring in the mid-20s every night? He can get to the rim at will. He can hit mid-court jump shots at will. It's just not there. He's seemingly more passive than I think we would like him to be, but we're starting to get the scoring the last couple of games, and it's a really bad Portland defense.
I can actually answer that question for you, and that's, I feel like he just draws too many doubles, and then you've got a lot of good shooters on Memphis that are someone's going to be open on the wing. Whether it's Anthony Melton, whether it's Brooks, whether it's Grayson Allen, one of those 3 is always going to be open. And now Jaren Jackson Jr., who has range too, he's going to be open. I think if you're Memphis and that opposing defenses are always going to shadow him very much so and take him out of the game as much as they can, you have to get to the open man. It's a high percentage shots you want, Grande.
So if that's the case, what do you do? I mean, Jaren Jackson, when at full capacity, will obviously draw more defensive attention, but what do you do to combat the double teams moving forward? Do you go out and get another star put alongside Morant? Because if they don't, I mean, that's going to be.
Well, are you talking moving forward in seasons from now, or as of the rest of the way now that Jackson's back?
I guess just in general, because
okay,
in that regard, like how you mentioned, if he's going to continue to see double teams, they need to do something, right?
All right, so here's what you do if you are Memphis. At this time, to try to get any kind of shine off of Ja, you have Jaren Jackson fake a lot from the arc, and then he's going to have the lane wide open. If they're going to take out Ja and Jaren Jackson Jr. is cutting, he's going to have the lane partially open every single time. Once he starts getting down the lane easily, and by then we'll all be taking such great advantage of the value before he becomes expensive on these sites, then all of a sudden teams are going to be like, wait a minute, we got to watch this guy too. Remember, Valanciunas now is out, so imagine with Jackson and Valanciunas now out. Now you have even another threat, someone you can't stop once he gets in the post. Once they have more guys that can cut inside, and once Brandon Clark can actually show that he can stay healthy, then I think Morant will get a little bit less pressure on defense.
Fair. I like that. And I agree completely.
Yes, thank you very much. Like you like Reggie Jackson? I feel like I'm like a coach or something.
I mean, you're wearing the jersey, it's Friday, your coach vibes. I don't know. We got the vibes going for the Coach Fency, #1 coach of the year. Yeah, Reggie Jackson's good. I'll like him even more if Rondo sits. I think there are a couple extra minutes coming his way, and he's been really good and productive without Kawhi Leonard. So hard not to like anyone really against Houston at this point.
Yeah, very much so. Let's go on to the shooting guards here, because with no Kawhi Leonard, you said anyone against Houston, Paul George is right there. So that obviously checks a lot of boxes. If we're not going Paul George, or we're looking for another shooting guard here, who do you like from the value sector here? Do you like Marcus Smart with some of the other Celtics out?
I mean, yeah, all the other Celtics are out other than Tatum, so it's hard not to give Smart a look. And, outside of last game, he had been really productive. And I wouldn't even say outside of last game. He still put up 30 fantasy points last night. So, he's been productive just in general with these guys healthy, with them out. And Brooklyn has been a bad defensive unit. They're a fast-paced offense, so we're going to get a pace-up spot for Boston. So, it's really hard not to like Marcus Smart in this mid-tier. And it doesn't
better than Brown, though. Sean Mitchell actually has them both in the playbook here. So here's the situation here. Bruce Brown is so cheap on DraftKings. He's 5,500. 6,900 is Marcus Smart on both sites. He's 6,200 is Brown on FanDuel. So it's obviously you're spending some money here. Do you still pay up for Smart, or do you think enough players are out for the Nets that Brown has a safe enough floor at a much cheaper price tag on DK?
Yeah, I mean, I don't buy the 21 actual points that Bruce Brown scored the other day against Toronto. He can do it. It's not like he can't, but it's few and far between when he's last done it. So I would think that's going to come back to the real world. The rebounding is real for Bruce Brown. He's a very good rebounding guard. He can pass. He can play in the passing lanes. I think that it is warranted if you want to save the money. If you need to save the money up for it's $1,400. $1,400 gets you from, if you want Westbrook, gets you from like Kyrie to Russell Westbrook. So, sure, it's a good method. It's surprising to see the ownership the way it or the draft percentage that it kind of is, Fancy, to see so many more people playing Marcus Smart over Bruce Brown, but I think that's just the allure of Marcus Smart. Like everyone flocks to Marcus Smart when guys are out. And I think it's a good play, but I do think you bring up a good point. We save a lot of money going to Bruce Brown.
Yeah, I want to flock to Lemon Pepper Lou tonight, but it's just this season, man. It's almost like he's regressed as a whole this season, and that production's been hit. You can't trust him.
Fancy, it's interesting you bring up an Atlanta Hawk because we have some breaking news featuring the Atlanta Hawks.
Uh-oh.
Clint Capella, your favorite player in the entire world, has been ruled out.
Wow.
Tony Snell, your second favorite player in the entire world, has been ruled out. And Danilo Gallinari is the old game time decision because they already don't know that a guy who's missed an extended period of time who is still not ready to go, even though they've had all day to figure that out.
All right, so then let's look at some prices here with some of these Hawks now that we've got half the team out. They are playing Miami. Miami has been a bit better defensively
yes, they have.
In the second half of the season, so don't get totally played by them thinking everything's a cash play when it comes to like, I don't want anyone to get too excited. They're not the same team as they were the first half of the season. They've gotten it together a little bit, but who do you look at here at this point?
I mean, John Collins. John Collins is always my first initial thought when Clint Capella is ruled out. My mind goes right to John Collins, and we've seen the minutes. He's been back for 3 games. It's gone 21, 25, 28. So we've seen the ascent for the minutes, right? I expect it to be over 30 here. John Collins would be number 1 for me. I would probably go Bogdan, Kevin Huerter, and some 2-3, for the bigs, though, like outside of Collins, I mean...
Does Solomon Hill have any GPP value tonight?
I would need to know Danilo Gallinari, the status of Danilo Gallinari.
Here's the problem, because like Hill's been getting the minutes and stuff, but he's not doing jack with them.
I would think that Ngankwu could possibly start. They've done it, and I know they did it with Collins out a few times. I think we could see Ngankwu slide into the starting lineup alongside Collins, and that wouldn't take me off Collins at all because Ngankwu isn't a very offensive-minded player, and it really wouldn't put me on to Ngankwu either, considering you mentioned, I mean, he's going to see Bam on the flip side of things, and not the most fun for guys. So I don't think we need to go there. I think Collins, Bogdan, Huerter stand out the most. And you did mention Lou Williams. I think Lou Williams is viable considering they're down Trae Young, considering they're down Clint Capella, considering they're down Reddish, considering they're down a lot of key players. I could see Lou Williams creeping up to 27, 28 minutes. Listen, man, 4,300, that's worth a shot in the tournament. It's worth a shot because he is a very good scorer when he's in rhythm and when he's getting to the foul. I mean, this guy created the James Harden foul, the swing through, the Kevin Durant swing through, Lou Williams was doing that when KD was in diapers. So, yeah, I would take a shot on Lou Will too, bringing it back full circle to your initial point.
Yeah, we've already talked about Bogdanovic now and going to be in a big spot here, especially with Trae Young out. But who are some of the threes that you're looking at tonight because of the high-priced guys Sean has in his DFS NBA playbook? Jimmy Butler on the other side of that matchup.
I don't know. Like, Bogdan stands out the most to me. I think Butler is good from the standpoint that the matchup is good. I don't like the price. He hasn't paid off that price tag in quite a while. Outside of his game, his Minnesota game, which we all we saw that from a mile away. Someone that I'm personally looking at outside of Sean's playbook is Kelly Oubre tonight. He looked great coming off the bench the other night. Now there's no Bazemore, so we're going to see him back likely in the starting rotation. And the price tag is what stands out to me, I think, the most. He's 5,800 on DraftKings coming off 40 fantasy points. We know this guy is super talented. He's looked better from the floor. I mean, he scored 19 or more offensively in 4 of the last 5 games. So Oubre for me, and then Poku, who on DraftKings is a small forward. I think Poku, he is not sick any longer, so we're going to get a full complement. And then I guess it depends on what the status is of Lou Dort, right? We're all awaiting the news. There's still nothing across the wire. Because I don't know about you, but like if Lou Dort plays, I think he's an option. I want your take on this too. I think if Lou Dort plays, he's firmly in play with all the shot attempts he's going to get without Gilgeous-Alexander. But if he doesn't, our favorite Kenrich or our favorite Williams in the league, Kenrich, is suddenly and his horrible mullet is back in the rotation. 35 and 28 minutes the last 2 games. And I would go out. I'm not going out on a limb, I think, to say at 4,900 that's a great play. What are your thoughts on that situation?
Well, I mean, I immediately think, do you like him better than Poku?
Kenrich?
Yeah, I'm guessing not, right?
No, I think Poku just presents far more than. I mean, Poku had a 6 block. Poku almost like quadruple doubled the other day, just like out of the blue. I think Poku can do a lot more, especially with his length defensively, than Kenrich can.
Yeah, he can play multiple positions. By the way, somebody else that plays multiple positions that I think maybe because it's a short slate we consider, Jayshawn Tate. Still getting it done, doing enough in your stats, your peripheral stats that you talk about all the time, getting some steals. I mean, I know with the scoring, it's been a little bit down the last couple of games, but what do you think with no Kawhi? You giving this guy any shot? Because I feel like you can attack the Clippers front court a little bit.
Yeah, man. I mean, the minutes are there. And I don't think we're going to see 19 shot attempts again because that hasn't happened like all year. But the double-digit shot attempts have been there 3 of the last 4. The minutes are there. You mentioned the peripheral stats. We just need the consistent scoring. If we get the upside scoring, the 14 to 20 points that he's capable of giving us, then we're going to get 30-plus fantasy points, and that's more than fine. So, yes, I do think Jayshawn Tate is firmly in play in tournaments. I think that's a good call for sure.
There are certain players that when they do enough in other stats and they play multiple positions, if I see them having a down scoring night, and they go 0 for 9 like Jayshawn Tate did from downtown, I'm actually more enthralled with him getting the 9 3-point shot attempts than him going 0 for 9. They're going to have bad shooting nights, but like you said, Grande, he's involved, and that's something that you need on a short slate. You need safe, boring, balanced players. Him, Kevin Huerter. To me, those are your safety nets tonight. Especially.
Yeah, I agree. I agree on both fronts. Tate and Huerter are both. I would say they're both cash viable for sure.
You know who else is as well? I'm going to add this guy in. Darius Bazley. How about him as we move on to power forwards?
I mean, you don't have to sell me. I am in on Darius Bazley. He's scoring the basketball at a high clip. He's rebounding the basketball at a high clip. And we just saw, if there's no Lou Dort, Darius Bazley is the number 1 option on this team. And I think there are going to be plenty of nights where it's Baisley the 1A side to Dort's 1B, you know, and we know Lou Dort has never been offensive minded. Lou Dort got into this league and got a contract from OKC because he can defend the hell out of the ball. He just happens to be the only guy there, or had been the only guy.
Right.
Baisley is the guy here in OKC against the bottom 5 defense of the league. So
it doesn't matter who's in or who's out. Since this guy has come back, he was given immediately the keys to the kingdom. 30 minutes, he hasn't looked back.
Right. I'm with you, man. And this position, when John and I were breaking it down, is very, very loaded tonight. Because you have Tatum at the top. I think Tatum stands out like sore thumb, obviously.
No Brown, no Walker, and no Durant on the other side. It's a beautiful matchup for him.
Yeah, so like Tatum is the top dog, but Baisley, Love, Marcus Morris for me. The 3 guys that Sean has right here in this mid-tier, love them all. I don't think
I rank them in that order too, by the way. Baisley, Love, Morris as my priority.
I would probably put Love third, and it's not because I think Kevin Love is an awesome play. I just think I love Marcus Morris when he's a first or second option on teams. Dude, he can freaking score the basketball, and he's a very good defender too. This guy is super talented, and I like again, we're talking about savings, $500 less than Love on FanDuel, $400 on DraftKings. Get a little salary savings there, so I can spend up on Tatum and George, or George and Irving, or George and Westbrook, some variation of those guys. So any savings to get me 2 stars will help, and so I'll go Marcus Morris, Kevin Love, but we're both in total agreement. Darius Baisley's number 1 there.
Yeah, one more value power forward I want to talk about. You mentioned the positions loaded. Davis Bertans now is going to be huge the rest of the way, because with Denny out of the way, I feel like he's going to be getting a lot of those extra shots. And as frustrating as he can be standing at the arc, he's been getting it done a little bit more, and especially tonight going up against the Thunder. You love this play as much as I do?
Yeah, man. I've been touting Bertans for a couple slates now. And he is, I don't know if he is the streakiest shooter in the NBA, but he's one of them. If he's not one, he is up there.
Oh, you are 100% right when you say
like when he gets going, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. He can really fill it up, and it can be really ugly at the same time.
And it's all from 3.
It is all from 3. He has taken let's see, Fancy. He's taken 31 shot attempts in the last 3 games. How many without looking, would you well,
dude, we're doing a live stream. I gotta have the stats in front of me.
For everyone else, he has taken 31 shot attempts the last 3 games. 29 have come from 3. So yeah, I mean,
that's fortunately for us, from Duncan Robinson. He's a smaller guy. This guy's a bigger guy. We're on a team that has no front court.
I know it's yeah. I mean, look, if he's gonna make 4+ per game, I have no problems, because he's scoring the basketball, and especially for where we're analyzing from a DFS standpoint, shoot away, bro. Especially on DraftKings, we're getting those extra points. So I like him quite a bit in tournaments. The minutes have gone up. And the matchup is great against OKC. So there's really nothing. I have nothing bad to say about Bertans. Honestly, this game, hard not to just want a lot of different pieces of this puzzle, considering price points too.
Tyler Hero will be active for tonight's game in that amazing Miami-Atlanta game that we keep referencing.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you're in a 7-game slate. You reference a game a certain amount of times here. What centers are you prioritizing tonight? Because this is where, obviously, with now Clint Capella out, still very priced up anyway. I mean, is it the Joker or bust at this point?
So I think, obviously, spending up, it's probably Joker or bust. I don't think we need to go Bam. You can. Now, there's no Capella. I think it's obviously a better matchup for him. I don't love Christian Wood at this position, 8,300. Like, GPP upside, sure. I think it's Jokic up top. I love Yusuf Nurkic tonight, though. I love Yusuf Nurkic. I love seeing Nurkic's minutes where they were the other night. They were at 28, which, we haven't seen since he's returned from injury. He's been very good on the glass in limited time. He's been very good passing out of the post, Fensty. I mean, golly, 7 of his last 10 games, he's had 4 or more assists, and we're talking about 22 minutes in all those games. So I love what Nurkic is doing right now. He realizes the offensive talent that is around him. He realizes that he has, Lillard, Powell, and McCollum all standing on the arc when he catches the ball in the post. He's doing the right thing kicking out there.
I just hope his ceiling's not limited. Looking at his stats, it seems like you're getting a strict 5x return on DraftKings, and you're cool with that?
So it is. You also have to take into consideration that we've mostly been seeing 22 to 25 or so minutes, right? He got his minutes bumped to 29. We could see 30, 31, 32 with more minutes, equals more production, right? So where we're seeing 6, 11, 8, 11 shot attempts, that could potentially the next 4 games could be 11, 12, 12, 15, and then we're talking about a guy now. Give me 15 shots of Yusuf Nurkic if he's going to continue to give us the type of production he is in the rebounding and assist category as well. So 5,200 against a Jonas Valanciunas-less front court. They have to deal with limited exposure of foul-happy Jaren Jackson and Xavier Tillman, who isn't proven defensively either. I'm perfectly fine with Nurkic. 5,200 is too cheap, man, especially for the upside that this guy can bring.
It is, and we will see if that comes through. It'll be interesting to see how they manage Nurkic's minutes because they want to keep this guy healthy as they gear towards the playoffs just a few weeks away. Give James Grande a follow on Twitter at _real_Grande. Give me a follow at Fensty Sports. Get in the chat. Get those lineups set. 7 games to dominate. Let's do it on a Friday. Weekend winners coming up. Let's get it.